Next, let's talk about the relationship between language, society, and culture. One really interesting thing is that our society and our culture influence the words that we speak, and that the words that we speak influence our society and our culture. So it's this really interesting cyclical relationship between language, society, and culture, and all of them impact one another. And so it's really important for us to seek out opportunities and go beyond our comfort zones so that we can better understand the language that we use in our society and our culture. So let's talk first about language and social context. So within our social context, there are various rules, norms, and scripts that we follow without even realizing that we're doing it. So rules are explicitly stated conventions that we operate on, whereas norms are more implicit. So you might have been told growing up that if someone is speaking to you, you need to look at them. That is a rule because it was explicitly stated to you. Whereas we know that if we need to leave a meeting or leave a room, that we generally need to say something before we do so, right? We need to say that we have to leave before we get up and walk out the door. And that wasn't necessarily something that was ever said to us, but we've noticed that it was awkward when someone got up and just left without saying anything. So that's a norm because it's more implicit. And additionally, we also have some conversational elements that are highly scripted and ritualized. So our conversations generally begin with some kind of standard greeting. Hey, how's it going? And then proceed to safe exchanges about things that are in our immediate experience, right? So we'll say, hey, how about that weather, right? Or, hey, how about them Giants? Or whatever the conversation of the day is, right? But we have these safe topics that we can talk about to kind of start a conversation. So as I was saying, we have these rules and norms and scripts in our brains that we operate on without even realizing that we're doing it. Now, language also has a relationship to our cultural contexts. So even people who speak the same language experience cultural differences because of their various intersecting cultural identities and personal experiences. A good example of this is the fact that in England they speak English and in America we speak English, but those are two very different cultures. And so we have culturally influenced differences in our language that could possibly result in some really interesting encounters that could be awkward or informative or just plain old disastrous. So, for example, if I was English and I came to America and I walked outside of a bar one night and I walked up to an American and I said to that American, hey, can I bum a fag? That American would probably be very offended because they'd be like, you want to do what to whom? Right? Because the phrase to bum a fag is asking for a cigarette in England. But in America, those words have a very different meaning, right? And so we have to recognize the differences that can happen even within the same language. And this brings us to the idea of accents and dialects. So dialects are versions of languages that have distinct words, grammar, and pronunciation. So we have the English dialect and we have the American dialect of English. And accents are distinct styles of pronunciation, and there can be multiple accents within one dialect. For example, in America, you have like Southern accents and Bostonian accents and Californian accents and all of those sorts of things, right? And many people think that they speak normally and perceive others to have an accent or a dialect. And there was actually this really interesting quiz a few years back in the New York Times that gave you a generic description of a word and then a list of words to choose from. And based on the words that you chose, it determined what your accent and dialect was. And it was able to determine with, I should say, pretty scary accuracy where you are from. And so this map on the page right here is actually pulled from that quiz. And the question that was asked was, what is your generic term for a sweetened carbonated beverage? And so here in California, the most frequent word for a sweetened carbonated beverage is a soda, right? We think of soda. Whereas if you were to ask that question in, say, Michigan or Minnesota, they would say that it's pop. Or even more specifically, if you were in Georgia, they call all sodas Coke. And so if you go to a restaurant and you order a Coke, they will ask you what kind, and you can say Sprite, right? And so it's really interesting the differences that exist even within our own country. Now, in addition, I want to talk a little bit about communication accommodation and code switching. Communication accommodation theory explores why and how people modify their communication to fit the situation or the cultural or relational contexts. And within this idea of communication accommodation, we have the idea of convergence and divergence. So conversational partners may use convergence when they are trying to make their communication more like another person. So that they can try to increase understanding and enhance social bonds. So, for example, a couple years back, I traveled for the first time to visit some family that I had never met before who live in Florida, specifically in Tampa Bay. And while I was visiting there, because my family is from Florida, which is sort of part of the South, they had very slight Southern accents. And so while I was there, I noticed that I myself was adapting a slight Southern accent. I was kind of dropping off the ends of my words and talking a little bit more slowly, right? And saying, hey guys, how's it going? Sort of thing, right? And I wasn't doing it intentionally. I wasn't doing it on purpose, but I was doing it nonetheless. I was unconsciously converging with my family because I wanted to be liked by them. I wanted to like them, right? I wanted to get along with them. And so I started to talk like they talk. But on the other side of that, we have divergence. So a person uses divergence when they use communication to emphasize the differences between their conversational partner and themselves. And so they are trying to highlight either a personal, group, or cultural identity and really trying to demonstrate that they are usually superior to someone else. And they're trying to make the other person feel unwelcome. And so this idea of convergence and divergence is also really interesting when it comes to our language and our cultural context. And then finally, communication accommodation theory also looks to the idea of code switching. Code switching refers to the changes that we make in our accent, dialect, or language, usually to try to fit in. And there's this really excellent clip from a movie called The Hate U Give. And the main character in that movie, Star, is a young Black woman who goes to a mostly white high school, and she describes in the book and in the movie how she feels like she has to be school star and home star. And so when she's at school, she has to talk more white, to put it in her words, and when she's at home, she has to talk more Black. And so she describes it as a literal switch in her brain where she has to switch from Black star to white star, right? And it's done so that she isn't seen as different while she is at school, so that she can try to fit in. Another example of this is the Scottish actor John Barrowman, who is well known for his role in the Doctor Who series. And he actually consciously changed his accent with a lot of practice and effort, because John Barrowman was born in Scotland and moved to the United States when he was about 5 years old. And when he came here, he was mercilessly teased in his elementary school classroom for his Scottish accent, and so he worked to eliminate it, and to adopt a more American accent so that he could be accepted by his classmates. But I've seen interviews with him, and generally speaking, he uses his American accent, except when he is with his Scottish family and friends, at which point he kind of switches back to his Scottish accent. And accents in general are just really interesting because in a lot of cases they're seen as really off-putting. People tend to not want to put in the effort to understand someone who speaks with an accent, which is really sad in my opinion, because we can learn so much from people who have different experiences than we do. And so it's important for us to consider the intersection of culture and power, and to really think critically about the ways that we expect people to code switch, and how that code switching may be based on cultural biases. So looking at the intersection of language and cultural context is just endlessly fascinating for me, and I hope that you can see the importance of the intersection between language, society, and culture.